boys and girls. Guess what time it is? It's story time on HartsLight Kids. Welcome, Charlotte.
Hello.
And I am sad because this is the last chapter in Charlotte's book, boys and girls. Oh no!
It is.
But I'm excited to find out what is going to happen to Twigs. So glad to see you again, Charlotte. And I can't wait to find out what happens.
Brilliant. We'll get started then. So if you remember from last time, we have seen Twigs and Thistle resolutely determine that they are going to find out a little bit more about this new realm they have found themselves in. And we then met up with Narcissa again, who used the sap from her Silvermore to work out what has been going on in Fairy Forest. And now we come to the last chapter of this, book 1, which is called When You Are Afraid, Choose Hope. Bumble.
Good suggestion.
I like to put them in every now and again. So Bumble, the royal bee, had witnessed the whole stoat debacle and had nearly rubbed his antennae raw with worry. He'd breathed a huge sigh of relief when he saw the elf successfully push poor Twigs through the strange magical doorway. That had been a close call, and even though she'd met an untrustworthy elf, at least she was safe for now. He continued to watch the determined stoat scratch at the twisted door for several minutes before it gave up and slunk away, trilling angrily into the darkness. Reassuring himself there was nothing else he could do for the moment, Bumble turned away and flew back to Fairy Forest to relay his observations. Hours later, he'd finished telling the attentive Queen Iris all he'd seen and heard in the days since Twigs's banishment. The Queen gave one curt nod, and Bumble knew that this was his cue to leave. He had to now return to the enchanted door, find his way through, and continue to keep a safe distance from Twigs, so that he could sporadically update Her Majesty with all of the goings-on. Once she was alone, Iris stood up and wandered over to the large, ornate window. Flinging it open, she closed her eyes and sighed deeply before looking down upon the green, luscious canopy beneath her, which covered the world below like a blanket. From her vantage point, she was also able to see the trees, which had been destroyed by the fire, including, it would seem, one positioned outside her very window. Iris's lovely face frowned as she tried to reason how that could be, but she was incredibly tired and massaged her aching temples instead. Then, looking out to the distance once more, she crossed her fingers whilst she made a poignant wish and then drew them to her lips. Kissing them once, she blew the kiss to the breeze. "Find your way home to us, Twigs. We are waiting," she whispered. Securing her window with the iron latch, she then walked over to a sealed glass and walnut cabinet tucked away in the shadowy corner of her room. Resting her hand delicately on its top, she gazed at its contents, a pair of silky, translucent, gently fluttering wings floating in midair. She studied their vibrancy to deduce the well-being of the individual to whom they belonged. Satisfied with what she saw, the Queen then returned to her desk next to the warm, crackling fire and opened up her old dog-eared journal. She found the page she was seeking and picked up her wren's feather quill. Underneath Twigs's name, she wrote the word friendship and marked a little tick next to it. She gazed at the 11 empty spaces beneath it, 11 values left to learn before the exiled Fae would be allowed to return. Would they be learned in time? Resignation weighing heavily on her mind, the Queen gave a little shake of her head. All she could do now was wait, and hope.
Ooh, the end of book 1.
Absolutely.
Faith and hope. I think there may be a few boys and girls out there that are waiting and hoping there's another book to come out soon.
Well, there is, funnily enough, and the next book is called Broken Twigs, Realm of the Thunderbird. So where Twigs and Thistle have ended up is in fact the realm of the Thunderbird. And it's based on a Native American legend of the Thunderbird. So it's very exciting.
Yay! I can't wait.
Oh, I've actually started reading on my Facebook page. I've started reading some of the chapters there as well, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you the first chapter of book 2 today as well. So gives you a little bit of a sneak preview before the book is actually published.
Awesome. A hint, a sneak peek hint.
A little sneak peek,
and
yes.
I think that I heard that you are a teacher and have something you would like to share for all the teachers as well.
I do. So I don't know if you can see. There we go.
I'm going to give back the speaker view so we get a good view of that.
Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So this is based on book 1, which I have just finished. And as a teacher, I know how important it is for children to learn the crucial skills needed in order to become happy, confident, and fluent readers. So I have also published now a curriculum plan, a curriculum map for the classroom, see some in there, which cover all of the skills that children need in order to become confident readers. It also covers PSHE over here, which is known as kind of personal social development. So it's a 6-week plan on the value of friendship. The reading aspect of this comes with all of the questions you could possibly want to ask any child about any of the book. And there are also linked writing opportunities in there as well. So it is literally a pick up and go resource that you can use with your class. All the resources are in there, all the questions are in there, all the ideas are in there. And it just really hopefully will promote the reading for pleasure that we desperately want children to have nowadays. So there we go.
Wow. Teachers,
so, yes.
This
and
is
available.
a done for you.
Yeah.
Amazing book and curriculum map. How can the teachers get a hold of this? Because I know there's going to be a bunch of them out there that want it.
Well, this is available now on Amazon as well. So if you type in, hopefully you'll be able to pop the link on the bottom for us as well. But if you type into Amazon, Broken Twigs, Farewell to Fairy Forest, both of these will pop up. So this will pop up first, and underneath will be this one.
Awesome.
Yes.
Perfect. How easy is that? And with the pandemic, I think everybody shops on Amazon at least some of the time.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
It's been endorsed by other educators from all over the place. Children have trialed it in my own school, and they're really enjoying it. And it's a move away from just relying on written answers to understand how children are feeling about reading. So there's lots of different creative activities in there that children can enjoy, with lots of role playing, lots of hot seating, roll on the walls, resolving different scenarios. So it's all going on. It's all going on.
Excellent. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So go to Amazon and get Charlotte's book as well as her curriculum map.
Absolutely.
And even the moms and dads that are homeschooling, this is probably something that you could also use in your homeschooling.
Absolutely.
So especially if you're schooling kids age 7 to 12.
Yes.
So check it out. Something extra perfect for you.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely. Because I say it's all there for you. All there for you.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow.
Yay.
Wow. Charlotte, you're a star.
Thank
you're
you.
Become the teacher's BFF.
I hope so. It's like
that would be great. All right. And boys and girls, we get to hear the very first chapter of the next book. Yay!
So, Broken Twigs, Realm of the Thunderbird, Chapter 1. Things that creep in the night. The fire hissed and spat as it consumed the hefty logs Queen Iris had thrown onto it earlier in the evening. As it was now the small hours of the morning, its flickering glow was all that lit the study, and its teasing light danced upon the nearby wooden walls, not quite reaching the far corners. The exhausted Queen was asleep in her armchair, a woolen shawl pulled across her knees. After the last few days' chaotic events, she hadn't quite made it to her own private sleeping quarters. Again. Then, a soft click came from the large, ornate window that Iris had looked through only a few hours before. In the gloominess, it was just possible to see a dark, hairy root force its way through the small gap it had created, slithering down onto the floor whilst the main body of its owner remained planted outside in the ground. Fireplace, fussing over objects that found themselves in its path. It seemed to be looking for something. But what? It reached the sleeping fairy, and the tendril snaked across her slippered feet and began to journey up her leg with the lightest of touches. When it reached her neck, it parted the tresses of her hair, hesitating as a small frown appeared upon the Queen's lovely face. In that moment, the Silvermore considered how easy it would be to eliminate one of its mistress's enemies right there and then. There'd be nothing to it. But no, that had not been the plan, and the Silvermores had been created to follow every specific instruction and cruel command to the very last letter. They weren't expected to take the initiative, so the wooded monster resumed its focus of seeking out the item it had been ordered to find. Upon reaching the Queen's oak bureau, the root explored it with due diligence, opening and closing the drawers with little sound. It examined every carving and nook in the desk before moving on to the dusty bookshelves beyond it. These too were soon disregarded, and the root's focus now honed in on the glass and walnut cabinet that was in the darkest corner of the room, hidden in the shadows and covered by a heavy velvet drape. Once it had reached the piece of furniture, it slithered underneath the fabric and up the cabinet's beautiful doors, exploring all the cracks and the 2 keyholes which it had to offer. At last, it reached the top, where a glass chamber was fitted, sealed by a brass magical lock. This compartment contained a pair of exquisite silky fairy wings that were floating in mid-air and which radiated an ethereal, silvery glow. We know who those belong to. The Silvermore took great care in investigating the strength of the enchantment which had been used by Queen Iris to entrap the wings, as well as trying to identify its magical source. Once satisfied, it began the process of retracting back past the still sleeping fairy queen into the window. As its pointy tip reached the iron latch, it pulled it shut, and again a soft click could be heard in the hush of the sleeping forest. Iris awoke with a start as if from a bad dream. She shivered. Quick to sense the strange shift in the atmosphere, she peered into the gloom. Seeing nothing untoward, but still feeling uneasy, she lit a candelabra using the flames from the fire and set it upon her desk. The warm glow spread to all corners of the room, and she breathed a sigh of relief to see that she was indeed alone. Taking the opportunity to check on their well-being, she moved to the cabinet where Twigs's wings now lived and lifted the drape. Relieved to see that their glow was still pulsing with vitality, Iris gave a little shake of her head as if to rid her mind of the last of the uneasiness. She then decided that she should continue the daunting task of delegating workforces to continue with the rebuilding of Fairy Forest. There was no point in trying to get back to sleep. She was far too much awake for that now. So, pulling the woolen shawl around her shoulders and making herself a quick, refreshing mug of nettle tea, benevolent Queen Iris sat down at her desk and began to organise the restoration jobs for the busy day ahead. And that's the end of chapter 1.
That's chapter 1. And
yes,
that boys and girls brings us to the end of the first book, but the beginning of the second book. And I know that I want to know, as well as I'm sure the boys and girls want to know, when can we get you back to read the rest of that second book?
Whenever you'll have me.
Well, you let us know when the book is done and published, because I want to make sure that the boys and girls, when they fall in love with it, that they'll be able to buy it. So when it's published, we're going to have you back on HartsLight Kids, and
amazing.
We will get you to help all the kids and their parents shine bright, not only with your books, but also with your awesome, amazing, fabulous curriculum guide.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
All right, until we see that second book on Amazon, we're going to say goodbye to our really amazing author, Charlotte, but she'll be back.
Hopefully in the summer.
See you in the summer. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.